Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus. I am Kenny. This is Tarbus Kenny.
Can confirm.
I am Kenny.
It's true.
Can confirm.
Let's see if people start. Eduardo was going for that. That's exactly what he was doing.
He really did.
So now, well, apparently others. Hey, there's Barry. Hey, Barry. You know, had dinner in Fort Lauderdale. Hey, Barry. And Orange Tabby, Garfield. That is Kenny. Kenny, who's that guy? Oh, that is not Kenny. We're already off to a running start. This is what happens when I forget to turn the mic. Yes, it's still. That's why I was like, why am I hearing double? Because I was here to
Okay. Am I in the right spot? I'm on
yes.
my mark.
You're on your mark.
I'm on my mark. Okay. Are we ready? Or we're filming now?
Yeah, I've got it running. We're just going to let it run.
Okay.
At your leisure.
Okay. At my leisure.
Fan favorite.
Welcome to Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus.
All right, Kenny.
I am Kenny.
We're almost
This is
ready to
Tarbus
go.
Kenny.
It's actually working this time. Can confirm. Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models. You left off the the.
Oh, I screwed
Speak
up.
up a little bit, just a little bit more. Speak
Really?
up just a little bit more.
Oh, I thought I was doing pretty good there already.
Well, actually, the microphone says you are, but yeah, okay, you're fine.
Okay. All right.
We'll be right back. After station identification.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus. I am Kenny. This is Tarbus Kenny.
Can confirm. That'll probably work. We'll do a couple of insurance shots and then we'll wrap. Okay.
Okay.
2 more times.
All right. 2 more times. Okay. Give you some lead in there.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus. I am Kenny. This is Tarbus Kenny.
Can confirm. And we'll do 1 more.
Okay.
Give it a 3 count in your head and go.
Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is Tarbus.
The Tarbus. You gotta put the these in there.
Okay.
This is not Tarbus. This is the Tarbus.
Okay. Are we ready? Yes.
Okay, when you're ready.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus. I am Kenny. This is the Tarbus Kenny.
Can confirm. It's almost not worth thinking about.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbus. I am Kenny. This is Tarbus Kenny.
Can confirm. times, and then I'll edit it.
Okay. Am I in the right spot? I'm on my
Yes.
mark.
You're on your mark.
I'm on my mark. Okay. Are we ready? Or we're filming now?
Yeah, I've got it running. We're just going to let it run.
Okay.
At your leisure.
Okay. At my leisure. Welcome to Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models. You left off the the.
Oh, I screwed
Speak
up.
up a little bit, just a little bit more. Speak
Really?
up just a little bit more.
Oh, I thought I was doing pretty good there already.
Well, actually, the microphone says you are, but yeah, okay, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. That'll probably work. We'll do a couple of insurance shots and then we'll wrap. Okay.
Okay.
2 more times.
All right. 2 more times. Okay. Give you some lead in there.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
The microphone's on now. Can confirm.
So we're good now?
And we'll do one more. Okay, and we're live.
Yay!
Now you'll see it'll take a while for it to get over there. There's like a 15-second loop with this new system.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Well, and we're on. And guys, we have Kenny Cam, and we have Kenny, and Kenny has Cam because we have something different today that we're going to show you in just a second. I know you're anxious to do it, so go ahead and show the people what you got. Ken essentially finished the bow mark, and I mean, literally, as I was in here prepping for this, he was out in the Tarbis trying to get the last little bit, and he's got a lot of techniques on here we're going to talk about. So, Ken, if you want to do the Ken Cam,
I got my own camera over here.
careful, smoothly, get your hand out of the way.
All right.
Dun, dun, dun,
Check out this beauty here.
By the way, Stuart, if you're out there, we want to thank you for your help. Stuart at the Deerfield Beach Train Club?
South Florida.
South Florida Train. Yeah, helped with this. Now, this thing is literally still wet. Most of the decals are repros, but the stripes are all taped and painted, as are the numbers and the diamonds. Ken actually hand taped and got everything. And to get the little black diamond, the little center part of the 4, because we couldn't really tell, we used black decal, and it came out looking. You might want to back up just a little bit. Came out looking great. Wait, let me turn the light down a little.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
But it came out looking great. And this was the bow mark that was donated to me by a glue trooper. And Ken had, he's going to tell you the story in a minute, but he built one as a kid out of scratch that had gotten destroyed. And not by him, by one of the hooligans, the schooligans, because he was a hooligan at school. And so he, when he saw the bow mark, he wanted to, he asked if he could do it. So I sent it to him, and he worked really hard over a long time. He didn't make the Cold War missile build because he has a day job. And, and he just finished it off here in the Tarbis. So I printed the decals, some of the decals for him, but, only the numbers, the stars, and markings are decals. All of the stripes and white and everything are all taped off and painted. Who you said did the nose cone?
Stuart did the nose and the wingtips, and Bob Leonard, also from the South Florida Railroad Club, he did the stripes for me. And
this is beautiful work. Even sitting here looking at it, I know it loses some in the camera, but hey, Trace, glad you made it. I mean, this I would not have a problem taking this to a show.
Really?
Yeah. And it's and Ken doesn't only build kit models; he not only builds RCs and train stuff. Of course, more or less same basic skill set. But now, you said the thing articulates.
It does, but I don't have it completely glued together.
Yeah, because he left some parts unglued so that he could get access for the decals. So some of it is just resting here. But I told him he could have this as a gift, but he wants it in my display case. And
well, I built it for Max.
And since I maybe just helped the tiniest little bit, okay. But I'll put a little placard there, built by Ken.
Built by Ken.
So anyway. And that was, do we have the box handy? Because this is a vintage kit. This isn't a repop. This is an old original.
This is the original.
And
Done from the original plans, as it says on the box.
which, if you remember Mike Machat's channel, he would often talk about how Revell said made from original plans because they were out in Venice, California, and they could just drive down to North American or Douglas and all these other companies and, you know, and actually get real plans to make their models from, which is almost like cheating.
Anyway, so
Do it, Turner. Get back into it. Remember, one of the greatest things about modeling is you move at your own pace. You're building for yourself. If you want to take a year to build a model, or if you want to crank it out in a day, there's no, you know, timeline. You just the thing is, I mean, the whole purpose of this channel is to just enjoy it. I think they've had enough Beaumark porn. You can
turn the camera off then.
No, just put it up. Ken, you're not. You see, you're hardly in the camera, so that way you have your own dedicated camera.
Okay, all right. This will make you feel better. Anyway, as far as the painting goes, yeah, Bob and Stuart.
Well, you like King Kong from that angle. Oh,
Bob and Stuart did the painting. I did the masking, but I didn't feel confident doing the painting, and they had far more experience at painting than I did, so I had them do that.
Well, they did
So it was a group effort, definitely. Yeah. I could not have completed this kit without their help.
I tell you what, if you scooch over a little bit this way, you know, what you can do is set that on the. We'll slide this over here. Set the camera on the table, and it'll be like, you know.
You in two different.
You know, we're gonna have to go from the other direction because of the light source.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm breaking rule number 1. Oh well, you know what? Oh, I know what. I know it.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you can see my C-119 in the background, flying a support mission to bring parts for the Beaumark while being defended by the old F-84F.
Okay. All right. We'll just leave it sit like that. Okay.
No, that'd be the F-84G.
Way off in the distance.
The F-84 is a very confusing airplane because it was originally a straight-wing jet. And when Northrop made the swept-wing version, because of delays in delivery, the swept-wing model, the straight-wing models were in service. The swept-wing was being built. But the Air Force wanted an upgrade on the existing straight-wing model, so it had to have a follow-on letter. So that's an F-84G with the swept-wing, and the F-84F was actually the older straight-wing model. But it had been modified after the F-84G had had its designation. It confuses a lot of people. Well, and there's your bit of trivia for the day.
Glad we got that straightened out.
Hey, Mark, you made it. We got just all kinds of things to talk about tonight, plus whatever you guys want to chat about. And I'm really proud of the work Ken did. This is the first plastic model he built, what, 40 years?
Yeah.
So who was it here who just made the comment he hadn't built a model in 40 years? Let that be your inspiration. Of course, Ken also is blessed with one thing I don't have, and that's an abundance of patience. He puts up with me, so... Anyway, so... Guys, how's everybody doing? I saw some of you guys talking. It's Republic, not Northrop. Did I say Northrop? I meant Republic. Republic made the F-84. Same people that made the Thunderbolt.
Right.
They love to put Thunder on the name. Thunderbolt, Thunder Chief, Thunder Streak, Thunder Flash.
Sounds cool.
It does.
Is the painter guy out there?
Paint Namer. Apparently, Ken looks just like one of the glue troopers who goes by the call sign Paint Namer. I haven't
His mother.
seen it.
Yeah, well, his mother thinks they look like
apparently they saw the live stream, and his mom thought her son was in the live stream with me, and I think he was there in the room with her or something like that, or I forget what the story was.
It was a picture.
It was a picture. I showed a picture. That was it. And she's like, "Why are you in this man's live stream?" And he's like, "Mom, I'm not."
Yeah, why? I don't recognize that hat or that jacket.
Yeah. Have you been buying clothes without my permission? Mom, I'm 50. Anyway, we thought that was hilarious. So
that wasn't.
Winter is coming. Martin Winter. He lives in Montana.
Oh.
When they say winter is coming, they're not joking. They get those Game of Thrones winters like Buffalo.
Yeah, it's chilly up there.
So, anyway, okay, real quick, without Googling it, who knows what Beaumark stands for? Acronym. We'll give a minute, Chaw, on that, because I guarantee you somebody out there knows.
Oh,
probably more than one somebody.
I have no doubt. I just thought it was a cool name.
That is a cool name. Beaumark. I will bomb you on the mark. When I first saw one, I was like, oh, it's a bomb mark. Well, I knew it was a flying missile, so I figured it was a bomb. And I figured, well, it flies like an arc. Oh, okay, it's a bomb arc.
Okay.
Why not?
All right. While they're thinking about it, I can tell my little story about the plane, or about the original one, if you want.
Oh, Kev, great. He just finished his 55 Ford pickup. He taking some beautiful. It's great. Car. The pictures are starting to roll in for. I'm still getting a lot of them for the viewers build, but I'm also getting a lot of them for the group build. Boeing in Michigan. Told you someone would know.
No, it's not.
Well, it doesn't stand for, but that's part of it. Boeing.
Yeah, it's Boeing. Yeah.
Michigan is the M.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was it Aeronautical Research Center, right?
Yeah.
Boeing, Michigan Aeronautical Research Center, BOMARC.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But
it wasn't just Michigan.
What does Kenny model for trains? What do you most do?
HO. Oh, you mean what?
Well, HO
road?
scale, but
Road. I like Erie Lackawanna. My grandfather was a blacksmith for the Erie and then the Erie Lackawanna after they merged for 36 years. And he would take me out to his shop a couple times. And of course, I was just like, oh, trains, this is really cool.
A kid in a real railroad yard brake shop with, torches and, welders
Huge
and heavy machinery. What could go wrong?
Drill bits this big around,
Yeah, a minor adjustment on a train is made with a 20-pound sledge.
He one of the things they did in the shop is they would heat treat the couplers. They would stack up a huge pallet of these things and put them into this oven. And they would soak them in heat for like 2 days. I might be wrong about that. For like almost 2 days, and so that it would take all the stresses out of the metal. It wouldn't melt, but it would allow the stresses to be removed. Okay, and
now I know what heat treating does.
Yeah, and then he'd pull it out.
Boy, Michigan Aerospace Research Center. Aha! Knew someone would get it.
They're good. So, and then he'd pull it out and he'd mark on what batch it is with a piece of chalk, but he'd stand like this far away with this oven mitt on his arm up to here and just put out a lot of heat.
Well, I tell you what, let's do something real quick. Would you hand me that box? I got a box in the mail. Don't bump anything. I actually got 2 of them, and I thought I'd instead, since they just showed up, whoa, don't drop them on the bow mark.
Let's not do that.
All right, so let's see what's in here. I have opened it. There is a card. Maxis Models and Family, wishing you every enjoy, thank you, and this is from the Soldados, and they are in. Got the wrong glasses on. Can you read that? Is that Vale?
Arizona, something Arizona.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Let's see what's in the box. All right.
Early Christmas.
Yay. All right. It's a dragster. I've never built a model dragster that I recall. And this is Tony Schumacher. This is the Revell Tony Schumacher kit. And there's something else down here. And this is a Zvezda Army truck in 1:100 scale. That should be interesting.
100.
1:100.
Tiny.
Here, you build it.
I'm not going to do any more models. My modeling's done.
Oh no, I got a whole stack of kits to take for you. That reminds me, I got to pick something to take on the road, and I might take that Atlantis Gato class submarine that a glue trooper sent to me if I can fit it in the bag. There was some. Oh yeah, this actually came in the mail. I haven't had a chance to look at it, and God, my desk is a mess. It's a pen drive with a bunch of. Is this the? Yeah. I wanted to have the letter. And this is from Mr. Kelly in Palmdale, California. We mean to send you this thumb drive with a short homemade World War II video, but as the storage capacity started, I added more files from my digital library. I collect the manuals through subscriptions, but they're also in the public domain. The video has a couple of photos. that are labeled with a source. I'm not sure about that. They go a lot with the Aviation Week files I've included. An index PDF, easy to locate specifics. Anyway, thanks for your channel. Really enjoy it, and I hope you're okay with the Christmas music. I appreciate that, and I will take a look at that as soon as I get a chance. Oh, there was the box. I didn't keep everything together because I am so organized. Well, you guys may recall on recent unboxing, I believe from Mr. Hamilton, we had the two Lamborghini models, one from REI and one from Yodel. And turns out Yodel's a Japanese company that went through the 60s to the 80s. I haven't been able to find anything out on them. And of course, REI sold all their stuff to was a Micro Ace, and it changed hands again. Anyway, I decided real quick, since those are, I talked to John Kidd over at Scale Car Garage. Fast Sports is his YouTube channel if you hadn't checked it out, because I was pretty sure that these kits, because the bodies were solid shells, there's little features to put on them, but basically they're really simple kits. Now, I was pretty sure that these things were designed with slot cars in mind, which John kind of affirmed, probably because they came out in the mid-60s when the slot cars were just exploding. And that was a little thing in the intro you saw racing around. Let's see, where did I... Okay, let's... Well, you know, when it rains Lamborghinis. I was in, Ken and I went shooting today, and we were coming back. I was in the convertible. Every time I saw a Lamborghini, and every time I tried to get a picture of it, somebody pulled in the bloody way, because that's how it happens. And finally I got a shot. I don't know which Lambo. I'm pretty sure that's a Lambo.
It is.
And I don't know if it's a Huracan or a Murcielago, or God, I can't pronounce those names. But there's the model, and I got it running, and it just the way this thing works is you can go straight forward, straight backward, or the wheels are ratcheted so that you can fix them in a turn so it can go around in a circle. That's all it does. It's just forward and backward. There's nothing else to it.
It'd be fun to modify it, turn it into an RC car,
or a slot car, which is really what I think they had in mind. And the this is the Muir, however you say that. John told me I think it's Muir. The other one is a Jota, and it apparently is motorized, but it just goes straight. It's not a remote control. So pretty straightforward kits. And what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to build them, gussy them up a little bit, put some nice paint on them and everything. But when I'm done with them, I think I'm going to send them up to John in Canada and have him convert them to slot cars so he can race them against each other. Because he can make frames for them and everything. I mean, he's like collegiate level slot car guy.
Nice.
But I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I never had a model Lamborghini in my life. We did see one parked outside of the Florida restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what kind it was. But it was, I was like, I don't know. I count all the times I've seen a Lamborghini on one hand, and now I'm getting models of them. I'm seeing them in traffic. I'm like, am I just more aware of them, or are they actually,
That is such a sexy car.
Yeah, you get me in one of those, I'm pretty sure you're going to need a shoehorn to get me out. Probably going to need a shoehorn to get me in. An Aston Martin next to it? Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. He said that's an Aston Martin next to it. Let's...
And that picture you're showing?
I don't know. Let me go find that picture. That's right there. Oh, there's an Aston Martin next to it.
Oh, yeah.
Son of a gun, I didn't even notice it. Oh, sorry, I promised I'd quit doing that.
Anybody know what model it is?
Well, it's probably... I bet it's a DB.
Oh, wow. That's a real hard guess. Maybe a DB12 or...
Man, that's got to be $500,000 worth of cars sitting right there at a traffic light in St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, the Lambo by itself, brand new, would be that much.
I don't know. Anybody know what a Lambo and an Aston go for these days? I'm afraid to ask. Ken and I saw this big radial engine, twin engine Grumman, either a Mallard or an Albatross. I couldn't get a good enough look at it. I think it was a Mallard. Go into the St. Augustine Airport. We're at the shooting range. Have you thought about doing a World War II train? But we decided to go to the airport, and we talked to the lady. St. Augustine Airport is so full of airplanes right now, they're not even taking tie downs.
Yeah, you can't even.
I mean, you can pay like the daily rate and park on the overnight ramp, but every hangar is full, every parking spot is full, and you know.
And she said they're planning on tearing down.
And they're tearing down hangars
to make room for a parking lot.
Oh,
like, yeah, have you ever heard that song, Paved Paradise?
Put up a parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so Ken, have you ever thought about doing a World War II train?
Like, what? You mean military train?
Well, I mean, you can train from that era.
There's World War II era trains in the United States.
Europe had plenty of actual military trains. The military usually, I don't know if they had that many of their own trains. Maybe contracted. What a big boy would be a.
That was the U.S. That was using Union Pacific.
But I mean, that was that era.
I don't think so. I think the big boy was developed after that.
Do one with like Jerry Clower's story about the Jupiter Limited. The late comedian, the country comedian Jerry Clower, his famous storyteller, told about the Jupiter Limited, which is a steamboat train he'd seen his whole during World War II and everything. He'd seen it was like the fastest train in Mississippi, and he always wanted to ride on it. Well, when he enlisted in the Navy, they gave him a ticket on the train. He finally got to ride. He thought it was so fast that he got up on it, and when he turned around to kiss his mother goodbye, he kissed a mule because it was already down the road. New built DB5 goes for £3 million plus VAT tax. That would be about $5 to $6 million for a car. I bet it couldn't even outperform a brand new Corvette either. Well, I'm about to start an argument down here somewhere.
Oh. Did we start an argument?
No, I'm about to. I'm saying I bet that a brand new DB couldn't outrun a brand new Corvette.
We're gonna go that way.
We're gonna go that way. America.
That's right.
Well, you got to think. A new Corvette runs what, 100, 120?
Something like that.
And that thing will go like a scalded cat.
My son-in-law's father just bought one a few months ago, and in February, him and his son are going to Las Vegas to a driving school to learn how to drive the Corvette to its limits.
Okay. I'd take an Aston Martin over Lamborghini any day of the week.
Oh, you did start something.
Hayabusa is faster for $5,000. The Vanquish. Okay, Ken, how about a German train going to the Russian front?
A German train.
Hey, what? You build the German train going to the Russian front, and I'll build the IL-2 Sturmovix to come and strafe it.
Just never really been very interested in European trains.
Okay.
Sorry.
Corvette over 120. Yeah, but when you think about what you pay for those cars, the purport.
Well, first off, it's not just a car as you would think of it. Some of the things that he's told me that this car can do are amazing.
No, the Vet?
Yeah.
He said, well, that's what I'm getting at. Is when you buy a Lambo or even an Aston Martin, as well as an incredible car, you are buying exclusivity. When you buy a Corvette, you get a car that, even if they can outperform it, it's by such a narrow margin, it's not worth the extra $1 million, right?
Or more.
But the Corvette is within the reach of the average more or less within the reach of the average person.
More or less.
You know, if you can afford a house, I guess, or are willing to take out a mortgage on it. Well, but the Corvettes don't really have exclusivity.
Let's just say Corvettes are a lot more affordable than those other cars.
It's like when guys talk about their plane being faster, you know, they go, oh, this jet is, well, the Convair 990 and 880 are a classic example. Convair wanted to make the fastest jet airliner. But it turned out that they were spending a lot of money for just a nominal improvement in performance, which is why the airplanes had such short service life. Not many never made their money back on them. And the same thing. You can talk about, and I'm sure some of these exotic cars are going to outperform a Vet, but by enough of a margin to matter for what you're paying. So you're not really paying for the performance. And let's be honest, most of the people in these cars probably don't know how to drive them.
Not to their limits, no.
And there are a couple of people out there, and one I know who watches his channel, who have driven Veyrons and that stuff, and they will tell you point blank, although they're incredible cars, is that I love his comment about the Veyron. He goes, it's an expensive car for rich Saudi kids to impress their girlfriends. How many? I mean, I got a 6-cylinder Mustang, and it'll do more than I can do.
Well, your car is also not made out of titanium.
Titanium.
I don't know what they weigh.
But my hip is.
That's true. Nobody's going to drive your hip.
I drive it every day. Anyway, place to park money. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, some of the things he's told me that this car does is really amazing. They've taken GPS locations to the maximum. One of the things he told me is that if you want to go over a speed bump, because the thing sits so low, you actually have to raise the car up a little bit to go over the speed bump. Well, the car remembers that. So the next time you get to that speed bump, it automatically raises the car up for you. If you want to go ring out, all the performance of the car, it won't let you do that on any side street. You have to take it to the racetrack. Now, it knows where all the racetracks in the country are. So it won't let you do the full performance of the car unless you're at the racetrack.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't open the airlock doors. I miss the old days where you knew you hit a speed bump too fast when you left a muffler behind.
Yeah, or a big hole in it.
The movie The Train. Don't forget, if you make a model of the train, you got to paint at least 2.5 of the cars. The top's white, all splashy. The famous line, these paint this arches to you as a string of pearls before an ape. Nice last words. You've never seen the movie?
No.
It's a Germans are stealing a bunch of art as they're leaving France, and so the French train people basically get the train to run in a big loop, and they try to fool the Germans so they keep the artwork in Germany.
Okay.
It's an interesting movie. American bombers about to hit the train, but the underground had told them, if you see one with the cars, top of the car is painted white, don't bomb it because it's art. So you see these B-26s, well, back then they'd have been A-26s, making these buzz runs, but they don't drop their bombs, there's some bombardier going, oh, come on, I haven't blown up a train all week. Come on!
Oh, I can't do
Screw the art!
There's one other interesting little thing about that. It has...
I've flown a Viking 300. 165 knots on a $44,000 airplane. Remember? Oh, well, anyway.
I wanted to finish my story.
Please.
Okay. So one of the things he told me about was car has a break-in period where you can't go over a certain RPM. But as soon as it hits that mileage, the needle moves on the dashboard where the red line moves, so that you can now make the engine go those RPMs. Does it automatically.
How did I not see the freaking Aston Martin sitting next to it?
You were focused on the other car.
Yeah, I was also trying to get a picture. When you think about it, Aston Martin, I guess, looks like, quote unquote, a normal car, whereas the Lambo does not. No. No. And I don't mean that as any kind of an insult. I love the looks of the Aston Martin. I think it's a beautiful car.
They're both beautiful
With
cars.
Bond drive, anything else, well, the Lotus,
but they appeal to two different kinds.
Or should we call it the Flotus? Because remember the Lotus in the James Bond movie? Yeah.
I did like the missile system that it had built into it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, because well, clearly they knew just what equipment I would need for this mission. Because is that standard or is that option?
Isn't it amazing how Q always designed the car that he needed for that particular mission?
Oh, grow up, Bond. Okay, so also, just real quick, there's a couple of pictures from the range today. That is 6.5 millimeter Creedmoor. Extremely accurate round. Very old design. And despite the look, that is an AR-10 chassis, but that is a bolt action rifle. I didn't take a picture from the other side, but that's a bolt action rifle, not a semi-auto. So we were tearing holes you could put your palm over at 100 yards with that rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You could have, you can put your palm.
It'll reach out to 1,000 plus.
It's a 1,000-yard gun. I'm not a 1,000-yard shooter, but it's a 1,000-yard gun.
I hope to be someday.
But Ken is working on it.
We're doing pretty good.
Bond drove a Bentley in the novels. Oh, okay.
We hit a lot of red in the targets.
Well, we did. Yeah. And the red was about that big around.
100 yards, we were hitting, what, 50-cent pieces.
So I had a little faux pas recently.
Which one?
God, wasted damn near half a jar of black paint. And I was going to talk about this because there's a lesson in here. I've gotten a lot better about checking the lids and screwing them down, especially before I shake them. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what I'd done is I'd screwed down all the lids. I was using the black and I put it down and I gave it the quick, half turn just to set it in place.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot about it. So when I picked it up, the lid didn't move. And as soon as I gave it a shake, again, I don't know how I did it, but I guess I only given about 1/8 of a turn. Could have swore I had that thing nailed down. And fortunately, it was acrylic. It cleaned up pretty easy. But no, that's the saltwater range outside, right across from the St. Augustine Airport in St. Augustine, Florida. But that was nudity. Yeah, look, she's showing her knee. He's showing his knee. Wow.
Nudity?
Yeah, 1,000-yard gun to 50 yards eyes. It about sums it up. But
that's why I put the big scope on it so I can see what I'm shooting at.
He's got a scope on that rifle. I mean, good heavens, you can bloody see the moon with that thing. You can count craters with that thing.
You can see the bullet holes at 200 yards.
Oh yeah, at the 200-yard range, you can see you gotta make them out.
Which is why I got it.
Especially if they're on your own target. But it's got a little bit of buck. Actually. I actually took a little bit of video of you shooting. Where's that video at? Oh, yeah, there it is. There we go.
Now, any of you
Now,
shooters out there, don't go picking on me.
He's got the 2-stage trigger, and if you look under the pistol grip, he has another bag that he uses his left hand to squeeze the bag, and that gives you your elevation.
Makes it for a very, very stable platform.
You can see the recoil. This thing's got a little buck to it. There you go. No, it's not bad, but that shoulder pad helps.
That's a little better.
So.
I told my mom that when I went shooting with it the first time that it had bruised my shoulder.
There you can see working the bolt. It's bolt action.
And she said, well, can you do something about that? And I said, well, they make shoulder pads. And so I told her where to go look for one because she wanted to buy one for me. And they make them in this particular one. They make them in 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch thick shoulder pad. Well, I was thinking she's going to get me the 1/4 inch one. No, Mom buys me the 1 thick inch one, which you could shoot a cannon with that, and it wouldn't hurt.
Well, I'll go get the M1A, and then I'll go get the Eddystone 30-06, and we'll go back to the range.
Well,
you guys saw the video.
Well, I shot you. Well, your lever
bolt
action's got a little bit.
Oh
of
God,
kick.
I think I might have a bruise. I took my 44 Magnum lever action out today, my Marlin, and I usually shoot the cowboy loads. I only had left for these nice stout factory hunting loads. Woohoo! Boy, they.
Yeah,
that little puppy. I was like,
That pad, no bruises.
Do I have a bruise?
Thank you, Mom.
No, I don't think I actually bruised, and I'm delicate. You guys might remember the Apache I did on the road build. Well, I finished it off and got it on the shelf today. Ken got that for me. Was that at the train club they were selling? Mm-hmm. And the box had been crushed, so it only had like a 50-cent price tag on it. But he got me 3 kits I talked about on one of the videos a while back. And so the Apache was the road build that I started, if you guys recall. And I found it, and it's a blurry photo there. But it's on the shelf now, and not a bad little kit. There's some fit issues with it, but you work them out. And it's 1/72 scale, so you're working some pretty tiny parts. The trickiest thing is obviously the Hellfire missiles, which do come with the U.S. Army decals, and so I had to decal every single missile. But it was just. When you have missiles on a rack like that, you guys probably know that often ordnance is the hardest thing to do on a model because it just inherently doesn't kind of want to stay in place. you look at it and you've got these tiny little attach points, and even with, using the thin glue and everything, it can be a real trick to get everything in place. And some of these parts were, I don't want to use the word brittle, but like the pylon and half of the missile tube, rocket tube, came as one piece, and I broke one of them, just hardly took any pressure at all. You got such tiny attach points because of scale. And you got the little grab handles and everything behind the cockpit and everything. And those things get, like, down there with the tweezers and out the visor, just going, growl. And you start sanding
stuff. That makes them go in better.
Yeah, growling makes parts fit better.
They do. It's amazing.
Yes, old model builder. I remember as a kid seeing the Blue Thunder helicopter model. I know, I can virtually guarantee you, there was a kit. I don't know who made it. I'm sure somebody's on ScaleMates looking it up right now. But
that was a really cool helicopter.
The Stormtrooper armor is useless. Never stops a plasma bolt or a right hook. Yeah, I don't. Give us plastic armor, man.
Yeah, why do they wear that stuff?
Sure doesn't. If they use freaking doesn't stop. They use Chewbacca's bow blaster, whatever.
Yeah, I like that.
It's Monogram. Monogram made the Blue Thunder.
I like the stealth mode that the helicopter has.
Now everybody's Monogram made the Blue Thunder.
Remember the stealth mode?
Yeah, whisper mode.
Whisper mode. That's right. It's called whisper mode. Yeah,
I'm like, dude, if that was possible, I'd love to be. Everything in this helicopter exists in the real world, and I was like 14 when that movie came out. I said, yeah, bull. Guarantee that'd be mandatory equipment on everything flying.
Well, in a way, you can do that with sound canceling, but only in one direction.
And that movie was made in the 70s.
Right.
So,
but technically,
I remember Roy Scheider's. It states the times when he takes off. What do you think? This thing's nose heavier than the Ayatollah.
I don't remember that one. That's pretty.
But you think about it though, they got a lot right. Tell me that doesn't look like Blue Thunder. I mean, they mocked up a Gazelle, which I think may still be in that configuration, but. You got to admit, when you look at the Apache and you look at the Blue Thunder, they got a lot right. Mm-hmm. Not bad for a...
it's kind of like real life imitating art.
The worst thing that happened, though, was they made a TV show, which was a disaster. And the thing that I remember him talking about, have you ever flown a Mach 1 helicopter? I was like, oh my God, no, they did not just say that. The Blue Thunder helicopter was supposed to have boost so it could go a little quicker, but I was like, it wasn't in the movie. It was never a Mach 1. There's no such... Yes, Mach 1 helicopter, you know anything about rotor dynamics.
Now, they did do something in that movie that I did think was really impressive, but I didn't think a real helicopter could do. They did a loop.
Well, yeah. But
a Black Hawk can do a loop.
A lot of helicopters can now. Usually ones with rigid rotor systems were doing a long time ago. But, Alouette Gazelle. It wasn't Blue Thunder. It was a modified Alouette Gazelle. And I don't think they ever unmodified. I think the modifications are permanent. Years ago, I saw a picture of it, and it was, I don't know if it was in a museum or some, they're trying to milk what they could out of it. Speaking of which, I was watching a Hollywood milking those things. I was just watching an interview with Dean Jeffries that was made only a couple of months before he passed away, about 6 months before he died. And he was talking about, you guys, I'm sure, remember the movie Damnation Alley and the Landmaster, the weird 12-wheeled thing.
Yeah, I thought that thing was so cool.
It was awesome. He built, I think that's his favorite vehicle. He talked about that thing like most guys talk about their girlfriend. And all that stuff, the rotating wheels, all that worked.
Yeah, I read an article.
He goes, man, we were driving that thing and hit a rock, and the guys inside didn't even know. And it had the articulating body. He was really proud of that articulating body. But what I found equally interesting was that, by the way, Michael, hang on to Airwolf, because there's something about that I had talked about. That was Boeing 222.
Sorry.
Anyway, the Airwolf helicopter wasn't really that highly modified. It was turned back into a regular civilian chopper after the show. But Jeffries was talking about how he kept making money. Apparently his deal was he kept the ownership and property rights and intellectual rights to all the vehicles he made, which he made a lot of money off of after they'd been used. But he he said that the Damnation Alley vehicle kept generating revenue after the movie. It was used in television commercials and some TV shows, and it made some other movie appearances and all that stuff. And it was one of those things that he was able to keep generating revenue with it. And there was a guy that kept trying to buy it from him. Finally, he knuckled his fine. You know, the guy gave him cash. He sold it. And the deal was he still got to take it to like car shows and stuff. So he continued to make revenue off that thing for a long time. Probably one reason it was so near and dear to his heart. I'm sorry, Kenny. Are we interfering with your texting there, buddy?
Well, you got your list over there of people you're talking to. I got mine over here.
Oh, quick. Not bad. I like that. Anyway. Oh, John's here. Great. I'm glad you made it because we were just talking about you earlier, but I'm not going to tell you what I said. Actually, guys, John's here. He's the one I was talking about sending the I saw this in traffic today, and folks pointed out I had missed the fact that there was an Aston Martin next to the Lamborghini. I wish that cars would get out of that bloody way. It makes you appreciate the good when you have to wait for it. Oh. But anyway, John, I started playing with the that. I got that going last night. And this is the one I was talking about. I'm probably going to send to you when I'm done with it and have you turn them into slot cars. But I did get the little back and forth remote working on it, which is, you know, not exactly tough engineering.
Is it the right scale for slot cars?
Yeah, they're 124 scale. Yes. In fact, I thought I had that little piece of video. Oh, there it is. I do have it. Okay, here we go. This is the initial test drive after I got everything hooked up. And, of course, it just goes forward and backward. And as I mentioned, the wheels ratchet. You can make them straight, but you can't turn them while it's driving. You just pre-position them. And that's pretty much its tightest turn radius. And that's just me playing with the TARDIS, making sure I got to wire it up right. Although, after I was done with it, okay, fun's over. I think, you know, I'm going to have this and Yoda, and when I'm done with them, sending to John, turning them into slot cars.
Too much excitement.
I want him to film them racing each other. Yeah, that Aston Martin is purdy. There it is. That's a still picture. And we're all debating on how much money, whether or not there's $1 million worth of cars sitting there at a stoplight in Florida. And we're not even in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, you see Lambos down there.
Oh, you see Lambo, but you know they're usually second and third hand ones. Have you guys ever seen the security camera footage of guys that wrecked the Lambo, then jumped in a Beamer and took off?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
This is like only in Florida. Okay, it's been a while since I've seen it. I'm sure some of you guys know what I'm talking about. I think there was a truck at an intersection. Some guys I think it was a Lambo or a Ferrari, slam into the rear end, bail out of the car. Their buddies in an expensive Beamer pull up. They jump in, and they all drive off. So I'm thinking either they just stole the car, or they repopped it, or they were going to try and report it as stolen, and so they could get their insurance money, or didn't have insurance.
Or maybe it's their buddy's dad's car.
I don't know what the deal was. If they bailed it around, I was like, "Who leaves a freaking Lambo in the middle of the street? So it's got some front end damage." They're not.
It's worth more wrecked than most new cars that you drive regularly.
I don't know what those guys were hiding or running from, but one Blue Thunder was scrapped, the second dismantled and sold for parts. Both are gone. Okay, I guess that's what happened to them. I remember seeing pictures years after one of them sitting around. It may just, you know what? It was probably just the shell. It would make sense to permanently modify them, start cutting stuff. You can't undo that, and they probably used old choppers to begin with for exactly that reason. And then, you know, you part them out. You know, why not? Make sense. I mean, for those guys, it's a business. We all have these emotional attachments to these Hollywood cars and aircraft because they're the stuff of our dreams. But to the guys who do it, man, it's just another day at the office, you know. Speaking of Airwolf, what I was going to tell you is regrettably, that helicopter that they filmed Airwolf with after the show was converted back. It later went to Germany, was using an air ambulance, and it was in a CFIT, a controlled flight, and terrain crash in bad weather in Germany, flying as an air ambulance, and killed everyone on board, so... Oh, by the way, somebody told me that I talked about Mike Nesmith passing away, which is still kind of weirds me out. I was just finishing the Monkeys mobile. I literally had put the last shot of clear coat on when I came inside, and a glue trooper sent me the message that Nesmith had passed away. I was like, holy crap. Well, anyway, and then I was told, I think Al Luntzer died later in the day. I'm like, what the heck are they putting in the water?
Don't build any more famous people's cars.
I'll tell you what. I need to find famous people who are alive and go, send me money and I won't build a model of your car. Hello. Daniel Craig, this is Max's Models. I have a brand new Aston Martin model DB605 here. From Eagle Moss. One of the glue troopers out here had just built the Eagle Moss DB, the James Bond car.
Yeah.
Makes the Caterham look like a kit by Palmer. You get it in sections. You don't get it all at one time. You get a binder with the instructions. I mean, and the worst part is they'll change the kit and not update the instructions. It's about $1,000 kit, $1,600. It's like, dear God. I mean, it's a beautiful car, but if somebody sent me something like that, I'd be afraid to build it. And if I did build it, I'd probably keep it in a safe somewhere. Let's see, Rolex and, tooth from Bigfoot, and an Eagle Moss, DB.
Put it in one of those armored display cases with lasers all around it that you can't see.
Oh, Lance just ruined your day.
What happened?
The loop in Blue Thunder was done by an RC.
No.
Kitty's world has been destroyed. Crushed. Another dream crushed by Hollywood magic.
I've been disillusioned all these years.
Talking about I love the Mickey. Yeah. And John got it right. Mike Nesmith's mother invented liquid paper, not whiteout. Everybody, she invented whiteout. Liquid paper.
Kind of the same thing.
Heretic. Philistine. There was an old joke when I was in the Army because computers were just, like early primitive laptops and computers were just starting to come out.
Yeah.
They had a joke. How can you tell when an infantryman's been using your computer? There's whiteout on the screen.
I thought he was going to stay on the keyboard.
That makes no sense at all.
Well, I keep hitting the E key when I shouldn't. So let's white it out.
I didn't have as many pictures as I thought. I threw all this together very, very, very quickly. Yes, clearly I cannot be allowed near, sharp objects or wet paint. I just still can't believe I did that. Of course, the first thing I did was grab my camera. This was actually oozing out as I took that. I was like, quick, get the picture. Come on, camera, heat up. I want to get a photo for the show before I cleaned it up. And what you can't see is I'd already moved a bunch of crap out of the way. And as I'm taking the picture, I see, I'm like, oh no, the paint's getting near other stuff. Quick, hurry.
You're a vlogger when the first thing you think of is, I got to take a picture.
This is going to look so good on my Instagram post. So
I can show to my friends.
Okay.
Oh.
Liquid paper was purchased by Gillette for a lot of money.
Oh, Max.
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah, that's my son-in-law. He's sending me these pictures of that.
That's his Corvette? That's his Corvette?
I think the silver one.
Times are changing. Okay, I didn't tell Ken this.
No, it's not his. It's his father's.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you that's it.
He and I were... you're blocking the camera, man. You're blocking the bow mark. Here, just put it in front of that so they can see it. Okay,
that's...
Now, whose car is that?
I think that's John's father's car.
Yeah, you need to be nice to him. Maybe let you drive it. So
one can hope.
Ken and I are at this little place on Las Olas, which is near the Riverside Hotel, where I sometimes stay.
Can't really see it very well.
The nice thing is it's open 24 hours, and the food's pretty good. It's a really cool place. They play 60s, 70s music. It's pretty, but it's not like retro, like trying to be retro. It's just kind of an old place, and I'm like stuck in time, just the way I like it. and the main table has office chairs. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, hey,
There
I
you
feel
go.
like an executive while I'm eating my tuna melt. Anyway,
There you go. That's a little bit better picture.
there you go. So we walk outside, and there's this Lambo parked out there, and I couldn't tell what kind it was. I didn't see a name on it, and we didn't dare touch it. I'm sure the owner would have come out shooting. But anyway, it is Florida. But so a few days later, last day I was back in Lauderdale again, but I got in late, and I went, and since it's walking distance, I went down and I walk out, and there's one of the new Corvettes parked out front. But at first I thought it was the Lambo again for a second because of the way the new Corvettes are laid out.
They're similar.
And I took a couple of pictures where I realized, wait a minute, that's a Corvette. And I'm like, I didn't know whether to be impressed or ashamed of myself that even for a millisecond I could confuse a Corvette with a Lamborghini. Anyway.
He sent me a video of the red line changing.
The red line's changing.
See
Why
how
does it? Why
changed?
does it change?
Because he went past the warranty period for the break-in. Excuse me.
Oh, for the break. So he had the
break-in.
limit, and then he went past it, and it automatically came
Yeah,
down.
he went past the limit for the
Okay,
break-in
Dave.
period.
Now I can open the airlock door.
See, then it switched. And as soon as it switches, you can go a lot faster.
I need to read the comments here. I'm getting falling behind.
That's a pretty car.
No oil.
There's another picture. That's not the one.
Painesville looks like a map of Alaska. To me, it looks like a $5 bill going up in smoke. But anyway,
Thanks, John.
GW oil spill. So you know you're cheap when you're a modeler, and you won't put an oil spill under the radial engine diorama. And that costs money.
I want it to look new.
And so you're gonna get Halloween in the paint department. Yeah. So Ken wanted to talk about decals because we made decals for the Beaumark, and we used some aftermarket stuff. And one of the reasons he painted the 14, which it really did come out well. I'm really happy with that.
Thank you.
But as you guys know, like my laser printer will not print white. So if I don't use white paper, and I didn't have any white decal paper, so some of the decals came out with clear backs. So we're cutting out little pieces of white, like right here.
Yeah, that's right there for that.
And then put the clear decal over it. And maybe you can zoom in on that for him. And it came out, it looked fine, looks good. The 14, he actually stenciled and painted. Everything white on the rocket, on the missile, is paint. There are no decal stripes. None of the white is decals except on the stars and bars, which were, again, aftermarket, but they were scaled out. But he was asking about how decals are made, and I did a one of the documentary episodes on them. But the decals, making decals is like a science in its own right. It's a really tough thing to do. It's very involved. They have large, expensive machines that basically more or less silk screen them. But once you get the graphics done, you said the technology of these is kind of like the way they do printed circuits. They have like a camera that takes a photo, but it's some kind of radiation.
No. What it does is the light chemically changes the material, and then they wash it with some a chemical that removes that material that got chemically changed.
They call it an
or the other
emulsion.
way around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so all it's left is what you wanted, and you have a very high resolution because it was done photographically.
And then that becomes basically the screen, and it shows them trawling the ink in the thing. Like ooh, it's like they're getting ready to lay up a sidewalk or something. But when the machine goes, whoosh, it prints it on there, and he goes through all the different ones, gets all the different colors, and they coat it and dry it. And of course, the paper has a film to it. And
I like the sound effects. That was really good.
blip, 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 blip.
Very accurate.
So they put the crap in the thingamabob, or as we call them, decals. Okay, I don't know if it's decals or decals, and I'm going to harp on this again. I have asked native Japanese. I've showed them the names Tamiya, Rei, Otaki, and all these others. Hasegawa is the one everybody agrees on. They also Hasegawa. But when I show them Tamiya, I get Tamiya, and
Well, the very little that I know about the Japanese language is there are no accented syllables. They're all pronounced equally.
Yeah, and I was told, and one person said RE and the other said RII, but you have to pronounce both of them, RII or RE. And I've heard, and I'm like, apparently, although it appears that they have regional accents like everybody else in the world, and they don't always pronounce things the exact same way. Different, in fact, well, I guess that's pretty common any place you go. You know, there's slang and regional accents. But anyway, I still don't know if it's RE or RII. But it seems like most people are saying RE. The other one is Otaki or Otaki or Otakai, or, well, I don't think it's Ikai, but some people swear it's Otaki, some people swear it's Otaki, Otaki, and
that's putting accentuations or accents on the individual syllables when you do that. If you pronounce them all equally with the same amount of inflection, that should theoretically be the correct pronunciation.
Otaki.
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 Otaki. Whatever. Anyway, when people comment on it, I'm like, okay, I don't know. I have enough troubles. In Monogram, even here, Revel or Revel? I've always said Revel.
So have I. I've always thought it was Revel. I guess because the E's on the end.
Actually, I shouldn't say it. When I was a little kid, I said Revel. Because, I'll get one of those Revel models, you know. And my brother's like, it's Revel. I'm like, oui, monsieur. Okay. Monogram was always easy. Aurora was easy. But man, some of these kit model companies, I mean, literally that Puky, Puky, Puky. That little Pucara model I built, they made that one model in 2 scales. That's the whole history of the company.
Where'd
you come up with the name Puky? Which is probably Pookie, but
I think it's Pookie.
No, later on, J-David. We have most of the carburetor. Oh, is that the one by was it Ed's Auto Review? I think it was, on how the proper way to say Japanese car names, and we get it all wrong. But the thing is that he's a Belgian, and he did how he pronounced American names, and he talked about how he used to pronounce it, and they were all wrong. Oldsmobile. Fjord.
Well, I could see how you...
Chevrolet.
Yeah, well, if you don't know the French way of pronouncing things.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
you would put the E on the end. I guess it's like saying Target.
Target. I'm off to Target. By the way, somebody sent me a link the other day, said you got to watch this movie. He said it's an A movie disguised as a B movie. And it's called Alien Trespass. And I found it and giggled, and it had one of my wife's favorite actors, Eric McCormick from Will and Grace. So we went ahead and watched it. And it was a little hard to pin down. It is a comedy that sort of, it doesn't so much parody a 50s B science fiction film as imitate one, but it's in color. And I was like, if they made this in black and white and grained it up a little bit, it almost would have passed as a 50s B flick. And there were a lot of homages in it, like to The Blob, where the kids all come out of the theater screaming while they're literally watching the scene in The Blob where the kids are all coming out. Right?
What was the name of the movie?
Alien Trespass. I was like, Revel. My family name is Revel.
They saying anything interesting?
I'm just a car made in Norway, which is a fjord. Yeah, yeah, I'd like to buy a fjord. We don't sell real estate; we sell cars. I went to buy a fjord.
Well, hey, when we were a kid, my dad had a Renault.
Renault. That's when I was a kid. I called it a Renault.
I mean, for years and years and years, I thought that's the way it was pronounced until somebody who knew something more about cars than I did said, "No, that's pronounced Renault." Okay. We didn't have a Renault.
In Europe, it's Renault. Chrysler. Chrysler's Chrysler.
That could go south in a few ways.
By the way, I finished reading the book Across the Airless Wilds about the development of the lunar rover. And that book is as much a lesson in government contracting as anything else. I'm getting ready to start the book about the Bormans, the far side of the moon. And anyway.
So you want to talk about the moon car? Or do we do that?
Well, we kind of beat the lunar buggy up last time, unless anybody has any questions. But we got into it in considerable detail. Although those wire mesh tires are still, in and of themselves, a work of mechanical art.
I read an article about that in Science, Popular Science, many, many years ago, about when they were trying to develop the tires for the lunar lander, the lunar rover, excuse me. And one of the ideas that they come up with was a tire that had multiple chambers in it, and that they would inflate the one right behind the car so that the car was like falling into the tire because it would deflate the one in front of it.
The idea of using any kind of gas in a vacuum is rife with problems. You're out of business if you get one little.
Oh yeah, it obviously it didn't go anywhere, but it was an interesting idea.
Everybody designed a 6-wheel vehicle at first. And then when they said you got to cram it in the corner of the lunar module, okay, we're going 4 wheels. But what I didn't realize though I read the book, I think I knew this and forgotten.
Could they just stuck a banana splits buggy in there?
Not even close. But one of the things that I didn't realize is that I think I'd forgotten was the Russians actually operated the first lunar rover. They had on an unmanned mission, and theirs worked.
Oh, really?
And it was about 200 pounds, and it was a 6-wheeler, but it worked. And they landed it before we got on the moon. They went out and took some high-res photos and everything. So kudos to them. But theirs had a lot different. I mean, it didn't have to carry people. And so, man, you think about it, 3 of those things still sitting on the moon. Although contrary to this, people go, oh, if you went back to the moon, they'd be in perfect shape. Because no. The radiation, the heat, and everything, they said those things would be very delicate and probably fall apart. Some people think they might work with new batteries.
There was one thing that you didn't mention that I told you about later on. That when they designed the lunar rover, they made it so that the rear wheels would steer as well. And when the astronauts were working, trying it out and playing with it on the moon, they decided that was just too much, and it was more trouble than it was worth. So they just disabled the rear steering and just steer it like a conventional car.
Well, actually, the rovers had 4-wheel steering for backup. NASA insisted. In fact, the first lunar rover to roll, which was John Young, the front wheel steering didn't work. So they took off using rear wheel steering only. The next day it worked, and they think it had just gotten cold and the potentiometers had frozen up. But after spending a day outside in the lunar sunlight, it warmed up, and then they worked the next day. So normally they did not like using the 4-wheel steering, but they had a switch. You could pick either one.
Right.
And turned out one of them didn't work because the astronauts had put the switch in the wrong position, and they got that figured out. By the way, a lot of people know, if they've seen the Tom Hanks Spielberg From the Earth to the Moon, that on Apollo 17, that Cernan, the hammer that Cernan had in his shin pouch, knocked the rear fender off the rover, and they had to use the chart to clamp it down and tape it to make an impromptu fender. That happened twice. That happened on Apollo 16 also.
Did not know that.
Yeah, not only that, Apollo 16, it gummed everything up so bad they almost had to quit using the rover. And that was why when it happened with CERN, they happened before they drove the rover, so they didn't mess it up. And they were like, we're not going anywhere until we fix this, because of their experience on 16. Yeah, this book gets into the minutia of it. There's all kinds of crap that happen on these missions that you never hear about because people, go kart on the moon, hardly. But But they had all kinds of problems with the rover. But the thing is that none of them worked flawlessly, but they all worked. And some of them had high battery temps and other stuff. But the thing they said is that all the problems they had with the rover once it was in service were simply debriefing items. They weren't, mission killers. They were just things. So they didn't alter the design. They look at work, we'll leave it. And every one of them had different problems, so it wasn't anything that was endemic.
Oh, okay.
So, but there's still no one that makes a decent model of the lunar rover because of the tires. No one has figured out a way to make an accurate lunar rover tire because of the exotic spongy, the metal wire and the chevrons and the braces inside over the disc.
Well, the guy that made the model of the one that he showed is probably the most accurate one.
Yeah, and he hand wired all that, but it was quarter scale. I mean, things that big.
Yeah.
So, or 1/8 scale. He had put a GI Joe in it, so whatever the scale, 1/6 scale. But Pavlik's, he still has it. God, that thing is worth it. And he drove it in Von Braun's office. That's how they sold Von Braun on the Rover. He's sitting there on the this is and all of a sudden here comes this thing, and it's radio controlled, and he's like, "I'll call you back." Yeah. And he loved it. He fell in love with it.
What better way to sell something than to demonstrate how it works?
Well, Von Braun, they said that the end of that team, all of it, when Von Braun left NASA, he didn't leave NASA. He left the Manned Space Flight Center in Huntsville to go take a higher up job at DC. But apparently NASA was undergoing some changes, and they had to kind of get Von Braun out of the way because between his charisma and his clout, as long as he was running the Marshall, the Space Center, Manned Space Center, down at he was able to get money and funding and everything. And they knew that things were shifting away from the lunar program. They'd already killed a couple of missions. They'd already killed Apollo 20. And they were like, we'll never get Von Braun out of there. The only way to get him out of there is to promote him. They figured
old government.
And they said, we're gonna get an even more senior position up here in Washington. Will you be with the movers and the shakers? So he left and put one of the other Germans in charge who had been with him from day one, going back to Peenemünde. And when he got to DC, it didn't take him long to realize that he'd been derailed because he really didn't have any. He had a big paycheck and a big office and not a whole lot to do. And he wasn't really over pulling the strings for anything. And the guy that took over, although a very competent engineer, he lacked he was a very capable guy, but
nothing against engineers, by the way.
But the person, he didn't have Von Braun's charisma,
right,
and
that's very rare.
Although he did have everybody's respect, but they said that the whole mood of the place changed, and they basically did the same thing to him. He was there a year or two, and they put someone else in charge, and he never really got along with, I think it was Rocco Petrone that ran the Apollo program, and it was. And they said by the early to mid 70s, pretty much all the Germans were gone, and Huntsville was a completely different place. And they, that's when we moved away from the man. We're drifting into more satellites and probes and Skylab, and that's of course is when the whole program started. I mean, comes on Skylab was shedding parts on the pad.
I didn't know that.
Skylab lost an entire solar wing and a panel. That happened
on launch.
Yeah.
And they came really close to losing the thing.
They very close, and a lot of this is about the time they were losing a lot of their best people. And I won't say that was what caused it, but you got to kind of wonder. At least I would assume at least contributed. Less quality control. Well, it's just a payload rocket. Blah blah blah. Guys started wearing big sideburns and wide ties,
I thought it was interesting that they made Skylab in place of the third stage on the Saturn V.
Yeah, well, that's why they made it out of a third stage. That was the Apollo Applications program, and they had been working on that for a long time because they knew they thought they were going to go to the moon for 20. They only went for 17. When they canceled 18 and 19, the writing was on the wall. That's why there's only one lunar rover left, and it's in a museum, obviously. Not counting ones on the moon. But anyway.
We're way off the modeling topic.
Yeah,
we like to talk about space too.
So Buzz was right to punch out that report. Abso-freaking-lutely. Normally, I'm not one to advocate violence. But when Buzz Aldrin smacked that moon hoaxer in the chops.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There was a glorious YouTube moment. The second most important thing he did in his life. Oh, wow. Man, and you know what? Nothing happened to him. I was like,
yeah, what are they going
for three reasons. The guy approached him, okay, in an intimidating fashion, yelling at him, which kind of startled him, put him on the defensive.
Sure.
Secondly, he goes, I'm an old man, I'm just defending myself. And thirdly, the guy was a jerk who had it coming. And fourthly, I'm Buzz Aldrin, kid. I walked on the moon.
Would you go up and insult Elvis?
You'd have to worry about what his fans would do to you. Lake Pilot's asking about doing a seaplane build next year. That's not a bad idea. There are a lot of good seaplane kits that have come out. What
would be some of the popular choices?
Well, obviously PBY Catalina,
of course,
but also Bruce Mystic Modeler Ships just did that new Martin. I think it was the Mariner seaplane. That kit came out recently. That's a pretty popular kit, and that include float planes. You got the old Cessna 182 on floats too. That kit,
From what I heard, they put floats on just about everything.
Pretty much, yeah. You kit bash a DC-3 on floats. They put a DC-3 on a pair of Edo amphibious floats.
They put a Sarasota on floats.
Saratoga.
No.
Sarasota's a town.
Well, close enough.
Piper, Saratoga?
Yes. I saw a picture of it. It looked really weird.
That is an odd choice, but I have seen a Cherokee on floats. Weird, but it worked. You've also got there's actually a lot of float planes out there because you got the Dornier Doe 10. You've got all the Martin series, Martin M130s, the 314s.
Boats, yeah.
No, seaplane.
The old flying boats, yeah.
Yeah, but no, there's a lot of...
The Pan Am Clipper.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the M130, yeah. The Boeing M130. I'm sorry, Martin M130, the Boeing 314, I believe. So, real quick, there's a difference between a float plane, a seaplane, and an amphibian. Sort of. Not sort of, there is. A float plane does not have wheels. It is not amphibious.
Right.
Okay? A amphibian obviously has wheels, land or water. When you say a seaplane, people normally think of like a large ocean crossing, like the Martin M130s, the Boeing, the big ones. Those were seaplanes, and
Hercules.
But I guess really any plane that lands on the water technically is a seaplane, so that's really unfair. That's just how the people kind of think of them. But you get a seaplane rating.
The huge Hercules.
Yeah, it counts. It was a pure float plane, but float plane, amphibian. Some people, I guess they would all count as seaplanes. It is a seaplane rating, if I remember correctly.
What about that float plane Navy jet powered bomber that they?
There's a good one, the Martin P6M, I believe, or P6. That airplane got real close to going into production, and that was a really interesting concept too. There was also the Convair Sea Dart.
Yes.
They were heady days when someone got the bright idea to put an F-102 on water skis.
Yeah, that was probably not one of the better thought out designs, especially since one crashed at an air show, simply just doing vertical.
Well,
climb.
I think the engine came apart on it, I believe.
From what I read was they hadn't tested that rapid, doing a rapid climb or doing a turn from level flight into a rapid climb.
See if you can hold this in front of the camera. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that is a picture someone sent me of Mike Nesmith with a Dean Jeffries automobile styling t-shirt. Pretty cool. Anyway,
I read that the pilots really didn't like the Sea Dart. Because the way they engineered it is the front, the skid that it was supposed to slide along while it was gaining airspeed, it was going across the tops of the waters.
Yeah.
Well, it bumped, but you know where they put the support? Right underneath the pilot seat.
Well, that was the mount. Those the hydraulics were further back, but they also eventually got rid of, I think, I forget which one came first. They had one with two skis and one with one massive ski.
Well, I believe the first one was with the one ski, and then they realized, okay, that's just not going to work because all those forces where they're hitting the water is going right into the bottom of the pilot. So they tried to distribute it by putting the two skis on it.
Yeah, apparently it flew okay in the air, but anyway. Amphibian rating? Seaplane rating. Yeah, it's a seaplane rating, right. I thought about getting my seaplane rating.
What would you do with that?
That was kind of why I did, and I was like, just kind of like a punch a ticket to have it.
If you're gonna go flying float
although,
in Alaska,
let me offer you guys a thought. At the moment, and this is one of those little quirks of aviation, how times change. At the moment, right now, there is a shortage of seaplane qualified pilots. Seaborne, which operates some seaplanes out, I know they operate them out of, I see them down in Puerto Rico. And there's a place, is it Malacca? I forget where it is, that they have a huge fleet of like caravans on floats. There are several seaplane operators around the country, around the world, and they're having to pay some really serious airline-style wages to guys flying these small amphibs because there's so few people that have the tickets.
Yeah.
And the Twin Otter on floats, which you have to have a multi-engine seaplane ATP, airline transport pilot rating to fly. And there's your seaplane. It makes a Twin Otter on floats. That right now, there are less than 50 pilots in the United States that have those ratings. They're having to pay these guys 6-figure salaries because they can't replace them.
Right.
And to fly an airplane with 14 passenger seats.
Oh, wow.
But they charge an arm and a leg. And I see them going into St. Thomas sometimes. The Twin Otter lands down in the harbor area. It doesn't go to the airport. But I'll warn you one thing, though. That's Twin Otter's a great airplane, but if you smoke a motor on that thing hanging those floats out there, you're going to have your hands full.
Where do they fly out to the dry Tortugas?
I think, probably caravans on floats. When I was living down in Key West, they were using, I think, 182s on floats, I believe.
Or two. Bigger than that now.
Yeah, they might have been 185s, but yeah, Alaska seaplane heaven, absolutely. That's where a lot of that stuff goes on. When you're in Alaska, Ken and I, he was up in, where are you, Seward, right? No, you're in Anchorage. We went down to Seward.
Right.
But I still got this picture somewhere. But man, there were freaking airplanes everywhere. And there were a good number of seaplanes.
Oh, yeah.
But most of them single engine.
The Anchorage airport was enormous and had hundreds and hundreds of airplanes parked. Just parked there. That
Lemur Crazy has a Twin Otter on floats kit.
Oh, cool.
Heck, you paint that up. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too.
Yeah, they got Anchorage has they got a lake right next to the airport for the seaplanes to land at.
Tommy Tedesco, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
I wasn't too far from the airport when I was there. I would drive by it every once in a while and just to be amazed at how huge that airport was.
That brings up an interesting question, guys. Let's do a question of the day. Talking about, I didn't even know someone made a kit model of the Twin Otter on floats. So that's kind of an obscure aircraft. So what is the most obscure kit model you can think of?
Of airplanes?
Anything.
Oh, anything?
And by obscure, I would think something that really exists. I'm not talking about sci-fi, but the most obscure kit you can think of. A couple of float planes out of executive, yeah. Yes, the Japanese do still operate in a 4-engine high-wing flying boat, which I believe is, Shinwa, Shimura, something like that. I forget the name of it. I believe it is an upgrade of an old American design, but I could be wrong. It might be a completely Japanese product. Did you guys know that the H8k Emily Kawanishi was and it was a pre-war design, World War II, and it flew during the war, that it was actually considered the best float plane, long-range float plane of the war, including anything we made. It was fast, well-armed, one of the few aircraft that they actually armored, as well as armed with defensive cannons and machine guns. But it actually had a superior boat hull and had better water handling than the American flying boats. And a true accomplishment all the way around. Excellent aircraft.
How many engines did it have?
4. It replaced the H6k Mavis, which had a parasol wing with 4 engines. H8k looks a lot like, seriously, it looks a lot like a scaled down 4-engine version of Howard Hughes HK1, the Spruce Goose, the Hercules. When you see it, you see very similar lines. It's actually a little more skosh more, and there's one left in Japan on display, and they had somebody actually printed a book when it's very, the interior is complete. It has full flight engineer station and everything. Yeah.
Nice.
And I built the RE 1 to 144 scale H8k. It's actually out in, I think it's out in the Tarbis, and it was it's an impressive airplane. A bunch of buffaloes shot one down at Midway, which is kind of what tipped them off that the Japanese may be paying us a visit, because this recon plane shows up. The H8Ks are the ones that did the second attack on Pearl Harbor. If you guys remember, after a couple of months later, I think it was in March of 42, two of them, after landing at French frigate shoals and refueling, took off, dropped some bombs on Pearl Harbor. Of course, they completely missed the harbor. One of them bombed the ocean. The other one dropped bombs in the woods near a school. No one got hurt, but they flew back. The Japanese High Command was thrilled. I mean, both planes, and we'd launched fighters with radar. I mean, but the guys at the dark just couldn't find them. And
somebody said that Hasegawa's got a lot of float plane kits in 176.
Oh, yeah. The Germans at our Rado, was it 234? That was, or not our rate at 196, I think. There's a big 132nd scale kit of that. Let me make a note of that. We might do a seaplane build. Where's my build list? I'll just use some of my
move some stuff out of the way.
Confiscated TWA notepad and put amphib /
because they're going to print more TWA
plane. What is this from the hotel? Build 2022. And by the way, we have an airliner build coming up early next year. After the car build, I think the next thing is the ship build, I believe, and then the airliner build. And if there were plenty of float plane airliners, you can absolutely make one for that too. All right, put that right there. Put that right there.
That would be cool to make a
130. Revell made the 132nd AR 196. That was it.
It'd be cool to make a constellation for the airliner build.
I'm on my way to make sure you guys don't land in the water. E-tops, extended twin engine operating procedures. I forgot. I don't fly E-tops, so I forgot what it stands for.
What is E-tops?
It's what lets you fly a twin engine jet a long way out over the water.
Oh,
everybody says it's extended over water procedures. That's not exactly what it stands for. I think it's extended twin engine operating procedures, or I forget. It's been a while.
Somebody out there probably knows.
I imagine somebody probably does. Furbird ran out of spruce. yeah, and everyone knows a spruce goose was not made out of spruce.
Right.
It was a nice little mnemonic. It was easy for people to remember. They also called it the Flying Lumberyard.
What wood was it made out of?
Fir, I think.
Douglas fir or something else?
The Scots pine. Remember I'm a lumberjack. The Scots pine, the fir, the Douglas fir, he's a lumberjack and he's okay. Monty Python, I think.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Not one that I've seen, I guess.
Our World War I airplanes qualify as an airliner. If it worked as an airliner, the first quote-unquote airliner, which was before World War I.
The Dornier
right?
X was
No. Tony Janis. You and I were right down here in Tampa. Tampa St. Petersburg. That is the first true airliner that took a person from point A to point B as what we call an airline. The balloons don't count because they were just joy rides. They couldn't be steered.
But I only had one. There's only room for one.
Okay, for the airliner build, what does it take to be an airliner? The airliner, so anything from the Benoit flying boat on, if it carried people, World War I, there were actually airliners, and Zeppelins count as airliners. Helicopters count as as long as it carried people or packages
So you're
from
not-
point A to point B by air on a schedule, anything resembling a schedule or a charter, I consider it an airliner.
That kind of
Hindenburg, well, of course, it's the whole idea.
I mean, it opens up just about anything.
Not really. No Mustang was ever used as an airliner.
You sure?
Yeah.
The trainers carry 2 people.
That was a trainer, not an airliner. I'm talking about
But you could
commercial.
Put a guy, you could put
commercial
a guy in
airline.
the back, right?
Commercial airliner. It's got to be point A to point B in the air for pay. Okay? That includes Zeppelins. That includes the Benoit flying boat. That includes the flying boats of the Golden Era of Aviation. Does not include barnstormers giving joyrides. Okay? It's an
'Cause they don't go
airliner.
anywhere.
Yeah. But that includes the early Fokkers, the T1, and all those early jalopies, and of course the tri-motors, all the way up to jets.
Well, let me ask you a question. Does anybody, just out of curiosity, does anybody make a kit of Zeppelins?
Yeah. The Hindenburg, there's just a couple of companies that made kits of the Hindenburg. And the Hindenburg was essentially, it was an airliner. I saw the movie with George C. Scott. Movies are never wrong.
How about one that didn't go up in flames?
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the other ones had long careers.
Yeah, I know. But,
Of course,
I mean,
the R100 and the R101 didn't fare so well, but...
oh, yeah. The Zeppelins were definitely...
If you remember the movie Coogan's Bluff, where they did the New York Airways, they were using helicopters as airliners to get around the New York area. It's essentially just a commuter airliner, didn't need a runway.
Or what about those helicopter operations down in Louisiana that take people out to the oil rigs?
PHI, petroleum helicopters. I kind of, that's not really an open to the public airline. Because they basically, PHI contracts, it's a charter. But I guess it would count. I mean, it does. They're flying people and property from point A to point B for money. So, yeah, I suppose that would be legit. It's a charter airline, but it's still an airline. LA Helicopters and New York Air both operated helicopter, and there was one up in Chicago. You can go on YouTube and see footage of them. And there were several helicopter airlines. I mean, real honest-God airlines. Problem with helicopter airlines, they all suffered the same fate. They started having accidents because helicopters just, when you fly them that much, they don't age well. I mean, they wear parts out very fast.
Yeah, they have a lot of time limiting parts.
Time life limited, yes. If you guys recall, the one on the Pan Am building that caused those fatalities, that, including a person on the street, that one didn't actually crash. It was sitting on the ground idling. I think it was enplaning. They'd already deplaned, and they were enplaning. And there was in one of the landing gear trunnions, there was a crack that had begun propagating, and the trunnion broke, and the helicopter just rolled over. Unfortunately, it killed about 2 or 3 people on top of the building, and big chunks of the rotor blade flew off, because we've all probably seen helicopters that come apart. Crap going everywhere. Well, a big chunk, I think it was rotor blade or something, went over the side of the building, killed some poor person on the street. That was the end of helicopter operations off the Pan Am building, which is now the MetLife building, I believe.
What about that one? Was a helicopter that used ramjets at the tips?
My favorite, the Ferry Rotodyne, the greatest aircraft that never was. Which, by the way, that's being revisited. That's basically what happens when you take a Shorts 330 and put a big helicopter blade on top. Mm-hmm. They said the noise was the problem, and when those tip jets were going, apparently it did make one heck of a squeal. Mm-hmm. But I don't really believe that was what killed it. I think it was more political. There were... Okay, I don't want to pick on the Brits because they've done a lot of great stuff in aviation, including the Rotodyne. But the British government has authorities the American government doesn't. Mm. And they can, like, after World War II, and whether this was a good idea or not, I'm not commenting. I'm just telling you what happened. They did what was called rationalization. There were a lot of companies making aircraft. There were Hawker, there was Hunter, there was Armstrong, Whitley, Ferry, Supermarine, and just Fokker wasn't British.
Oh, sorry.
De Havilland and so many other companies. So the Brits realized that they were kind of diluting their their efforts. All these companies, Bristol was another one, and so they did a shotgun marriage. A lot of companies, which in the United States, they government can't really force private companies to merge, but apparently, I don't know about today, but back then in the UK they could, and I think Ferry got caught up in that. I think they had a product that had a lot of potential, but I don't know if they refused the rationalization or if the government was just like, we don't. I just have a feeling, I've heard some conspiracy theories that the Rotodyne was killed because other companies were concerned about it as a disruptive technology. We have airports and airliners that do this stuff, and
Disruptive technology.
Yeah.
Is that another way of saying something that's really advanced that might screw up everything else that somebody else is doing?
That's exactly what I mean. You think I'm wrong? Invent the water engine. See how fast you get disappeared. So that was and there's a push to sort of get the Rotodyne going because it's a really interesting concept. If it auto rotates, it can go a lot faster. And don't forget, it had those Rolls-Royce darts. It had regular engines facing forward. So that thing could boogie. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a grand idea.
No torque.
No torque. That's why you had the tip jet, so there wouldn't be torque.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that's a technology that should have been pursued. I'm kind of surprised the military at least didn't pick up on it. Ministry of Silly Planes.
Ministry of Silly Planes.
Does the Phoenix P1 count as an airliner? Ha! You talking about the one from Flight of the Phoenix? No, because they weren't doing it for money at that point. They were just trying to survive. But it would certainly get an honorable mention.
I can barely read that. Can you move that over to this side so I could see it?
What do you need?
The text that's over
Can I move it over?
Yeah. Is that movable to the other part of the screen?
I guess it is. Huh. I never did that before. Okay, let me...
Cool.
Oops.
Don't mess it all up.
Okay. Extend this over here.
Hang on for a second while we do some technical stuff here.
Don't touch that dial! Okay, wow. I just rearranged everything. I don't know where anything's at anymore, but now you can read it.
The Chicago crashed on the way to O'Hare from Midway. Oh. In the Chicago. Okay.
Which Chicago crash? Okay.
Second one from first one from the top.
The in Chicago crashed on the way to O'Hare from Midway. Not sure what that's.
There must have been another post above that we didn't see.
Scroll up.
We're looking at what you guys are writing.
Saw a Chinook with a ramp submerged in the water. Yes, the Chinook can do a water landing, and so they could launch boats that way. And the crew chiefs told me they do that only for two reasons: one, promotional photos for the Army, and two, if they really, really have to do it in the real world because it's a lot of maintenance on the chopper when they're done. Use XH-17. That was a beast. It was another one that was really pushing the technology of the day.
Incoming.
Hence British aircraft going Hawker Siddeley. Yep. Surely ugly to the very Gannett was enough to make that company quietly disappear. But I understand it actually, what I've heard, it actually operated and flew very well. It's, it's a purpose-built, airplane that did what it was designed to do. What is the thing you most hate about modeling? For me, sanding, putty and sand, trying to get the freaking seams to go away. Drives me bonkers. Link-to-link tracks are that's a Oreo.
Linking the tracks on armored vehicles. Yeah, I guess that could be rather repetitive and boring.
Have you guys seen a TV show? The British version was called, it's called the same. There was a British version, Ghosts, and then there's the new American version. But anyway,
Somebody was just saying that Airfix is thinking about re-releasing the Rocketdyne as a vintage chassis kit.
Why not? I say go for it. So anyway, in the American version, this show where this girl can see ghosts, they have this woman from the Victorian era, and the comments that she makes are such a scathing indictment of that era. And she'll say things like, children are best heard, or children are best seen but not heard, provided they're not working in a factory. I'm like, oh my God. And I forgot about what the world was like back then.
Very different.
And when I think about the things we complain about today, I'm kind of like, oh my God, we've got it so easy by comparison. And
somebody just made an interesting comment. On the surface, it doesn't look like it. All Hughes aircraft push the technology of the day.
Yeah, I'd say that's fairly true.
I think if he's talking about the time when Hughes was actually running it, yeah, because he had a vision. He had an idea of what he wanted things to do, and he told his engineers, this is what I want.
Well, you could sort of say that Elon Musk is the modern-day Howard Hughes without the syphilis.
And the other mental problems, yes.
Which came from the syphilis.
Oh.
Wow.
I didn't know where it came
and the brain trauma, and how many times did he hit his head crashing airplanes?
Yeah, that probably didn't help.
Threading dead eyes on a ship of the line. Oh God, I can imagine. Track linking through dead eyes. Yeah, rescribing, deciding what to build. Oh man, that's. If I don't know what to build next, it's eeny, meeny, miny, grab. Not that one. Gotta ask you, thoughts on overstepped starting on red softs?
What was that?
He's asking John that question. Slugo's asking John that question. It must be a hockey thing. We're from Florida. Everything we know about hockey, we got from we get from watching Canadian comedies. Opened the Rotodyne and found it sold with no canopy. I'd be on the hotline to parts department. Helicopter crashed between Midway and O'Hare in the 60s. Oh, that's what he's talking about. Okay. Well, I didn't realize that that Chicago had one, but that means that all three of the major operations did, because there was one in L.A. They actually had two of them. One of them killed the owner's grandson.
Oh.
And then of course they had the one in New York we just talked about. And none of them, these companies did not have bad maintenance. Okay, they went through the maintenance records. These were problems that were propagating that went undetected. Because what they learned was what Sikorsky and the rest of them learned was these helicopters fly every day, all the time. They need more than the regular, so they pretty much cut most of the inspection times in half, But by this point, the damage was done. So there's an airline out there that can't go out of business after a mishap.
Mm-hmm. I mean, was it Shorts that flew between the Bahamas and Miami? What was the name of that company?
Which one?
They flew Grumman's.
Oh, Chalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they've been in business. They were the oldest continually operating airline in America. When the wing came off that Grumman, that ended them. But they were already hurting. They were already. I mean, they'd been in a bad way for a long time. Old Pappy Chalks, man. That was like 89 years old or something. He died falling out of it, pruning a tree. And it was after he died and his kids took over. It went downhill. F1. Do you think if Hot Wheels did models, it would sell? I think a model twin mill. Possible. I don't know. Hot Wheels pretty small scale, but unless they were just using the name. But
well, it's not really a scale. They make them all the same size.
Yeah. So you never know. I hesitate to say would something sell because, I mean, I never thought somebody would buy a box with a rock in it. Look, I got a pet rock.
I got one with a cage around it in case it tried to get away.
And you paid money for this, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So you never know. It's certainly possible it would.
Oh, that's an interesting point. This guy says, I've worked on helicopters for 20 plus years. It's a group of parts all wanting to go in different directions.
Yes.
Wearing out and going in different directions.
There's an old joke in aviation. It's a definition of terms, and one of them was flaps, and it's how a helicopter flies. I've also heard a collection of parts moving together in close formation. I've heard a machine that from the time you started is desperately trying to tear itself apart.
Well, the Army says that the helicopter beats the wind into submission.
Yeah, and it beats the wind, and it doesn't fly. It beats the wind into submission. Beats the air into submission. Everything you want to know about hockey is shown on the old Friday night TV boxing fights. Yeah, but they don't have skates, man. I mean, come on. Basically, hockey is, they're like boxers and wrestlers, armed with sticks and knives. Knives on our feet and sticks in our hands.
What could go wrong with that combination?
I just thought of a joke, and I'm guessing it's an old joke, but it just popped into my head. I've never heard it before. What do you call a goalie with all his teeth? Rookie.
Oh, yeah. There's one on there from...
they don't fly. They're so ugly that the earth naturally repels them.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing at.
Mattel makes die-cast Hot Wheels in 1/18 scale. Ooh, that's pretty good size. Man, Death Race. That's a fun movie. Oh my God, Death Race. The original Roger Corman was so bad I could not stop with David Carradine. Was so bad I could not stop watching it. You ever see a movie that's so bad you can't turn it off? I never saw so many Volkswagens with fiberglass shells. Yeah, God. I mean...
Now, there's an interesting question for you on a totally different subject for you, Max.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
If not Jacksonville, what location would you like to live in?
Tampa.
Well, that was quick.
I was going to move to Tampa. I'd already decided that's where I was going to set up shop when this house came available.
I didn't know that.
Well, I hadn't lived, but I always liked Tampa. I used to go there as a kid during the summers, and visit with my aging relatives, and I just always had a great time there. And there's a lot to do down there, Ybor City and everything. And my mom was raised down there from the time she was about 10, so we used to go down there all the time in the summers, and I just always liked the place. And
now it's got a Liberty ship.
Yeah, it's a Victory ship. Victory ship. And we toured it. Was it SS Freedom? Was that it?
I don't remember what it's called.
I got a video out there. We toured it, and it was something that made it different. Was it had the 3-inch gun on the bow and the 5-inch on the stern, but they had another 5-inch gun off the side. They said sometimes during wartime it was a big deal if you could find another cannon to put on a ship, but sometimes some skipper'd wheel and deal and get another gun for his ship. And I was like, yeah, dude, you're about to turn yourself into a light cruiser here.
Interesting point about that. A good friend of mine, also at the train museum, used to be a navigator on those during the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they only put the guns on when they got close to Vietnam. After they left, another ship would come along and take the guns off. I guess they didn't trust him with them.
Lawn darts, roller derby. Oh man, roller derby. That little Jim Croce song with the roller derby queen. That was great. I had a video taken down one time because I think I used it, and apparently his stuff's still all licensed in you.
Okay.
Lawn darts. Because throwing aerodynamically accurate metal things into heavy metal things that stick into the ground in the air with children could never go wrong.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, we've got a flat end on it. Dude, do you know anything about physics? Yeah, Death Race was weird as well. They did a remake of it, so I mean, premise was interesting. Gaslands, a post-apocalyptic Death Race game played with model cars using dice, and a fantastic game. It's interesting. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. San Francisco helicopters. That's right. We overlooked them. Slapshot. I remember seeing the advertisement of that movie, but I never actually saw it. Meeslow, still type, by Hunt and Peck.
Look at that one. Second one from the third one from the bottom, about Tyndall Air Force Base.
But 20 years.
Third from
Spent 20 years at 160 my butt 4 inches off the ground, priceless.
No.
Sounds like surfing. What's your favorite Roger? My favorite Roger Corman movie? Well, of course it's Richthofen versus Brown. Corman wanted to prove that he could, make a real movie, even though it was all SE5s and with all the airplanes left over from the Blue Max.
Oh yeah.
And but still, Tyndall Air Force A7 mechanics would run engines on the Jolly Green but never engage the rotors. Once the blades are moving, the bird is considered in flight, even if it's on the ground. Yep. I'll go forward. Bell 47, mosquito carrying a flash bulb in its mouth. Okay. TG for the win.
That's pretty good.
I always thought it was a giant mosquito stole some kid's ice cream cone, but I like that one better. Hot Wheels and 124 scale. Why not? They got brand recognition. It might work.
Some of those early ones were really revolutionary. Like the one that had the cab in the front and then a long back with the surfboards on it.
Okay, I got to put Slapshot on my movie. I told John if I ever get up to Canada to visit with him, he's got to take me to a hockey game. I don't know anything about hockey. Except that after watching Letterkenny, I do not want to piss off any girls hockey players.
I know next to nothing about hockey other than it's a bunch of guys beating each other up on ice skates with sticks and stuff like that. Okay. My daughter loves it. She thinks it's great. I was working at this company that one of the principals had tickets, season tickets to the local in Fort Lauderdale, the team down there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the name of the team is. Anyway, he would if he didn't need the tickets, he would post up a hockey trivia question, and if you got the question right, he'd give you the tickets for the game that night. So he sent out this question and said, I think I got it right. What hockey team uses squids? I think I'm getting it right. As they would throw squids onto the ice. And what did it represent? I had no clue. I didn't even know they did things like that. So just for fun, I Googled it. Came up some hockey team. You guys out there probably know. I think it was in Michigan. And what it represented was that the first 8 games that they played, something had to do with, maybe it was a playoff. See how much I know about it. Anyway, so I thought, well, I got no chance of winning this. There's probably a dozen other guys in this company that know the answer to that. So I sent it in. Guess what? I won the tickets.
Oh my God. Question for request. Favorite model he has built? That's a hard one. Roger Corman was Roger. Yeah, Corman, you can laugh at him. He made money. He's one of the most successful, ironically.
Let me ask you a question I just thought of. Of all the models that you've built, which is the one that's been the most satisfying for you?
That is really a tough one to answer. I mean, because, models have different...
But which one gave you the most satisfaction? When you were done with it, you looked at it and said, I'm really proud of that.
The old Revell 132nd scale Spitfire I've got in there, and that old Vindicator from Accurate Miniatures. Both of them came out really well. I'm very happy with them, and I really like the way they're not perfect, but there've been others that, boy, that's just really tough. It also depends on when in your modeling, like when you were young and everything, and that little F5 I built. That
at any time during your modeling,
that was the first one I ever painted, so to me it was just a work of art. But wow,
how about some of you guys? What are some of the models that you built that has been the most satisfying? Maybe it didn't turn out perfect, but you looked at it and you went, damn, I like that. That was really good. Ravel 59 Space Station.
Slapshot was written by a woman, and she wrote about her brother's experience as a minor league hockey player. Okay.
What we got on here? Kit Bash. Convert that big stagecoach into the war wagon.
No! Oh, you remember John Wayne, Kirk Douglas,
Yeah,
the war wagon?
yeah, I remember that. So what other kits we got?
Detroit Red Wings Squid.
The Tamiya Lancaster.
You know what? I might say the Felix, though, just because so much work went into it. And it's, in fact, funny you should mention that. I think I might have just taken a picture of it a little while ago.
A 148 scale Sky Knight. What's a Sky Knight?
Sky Knight, that is, if I'm thinking it's the early Marine Corps radar jet, I believe. That's interesting. I could have swore I had... Oh, you know what? I don't think it's there. I think it's here.
Hasegawa Flying Pancake. They made a model of that?
Mm-hmm. And people make a model of anything. They're in business to sell stuff, and if you think, hey, we make a model of this, someone will buy it, they'll make a model of it.
Ooh, a Cuddy Sarpin 190th scale. Wow, I can imagine that must have been quite the project. Trying to get all that rigging on there correctly. That must have been a labor of love to do one of those things. Think about it, that's the kind of model you pass on to your kids. Hopefully they appreciate the work that you put into it.
That's weird.
An Airfix Spitfire Mark 1A converted into a PRIV recon plane. It was the subject of my first modeling article published in Airfix magazine back in 1981. Yeah, I could see why that would be special to you. What about that 1/72nd scale Cherokee that you did?
Oh yeah,
The one that was
one that was in Guide into Fine Scale Model. That's true. Yeah, that
was that. Did that give you a lot of satisfaction?
Absolutely. That was a life goal accomplished there. Yeah, I may have to go with that because it's so hard to pick one. You love all your children, and even the weird ones.
Wow, there's a lot of good ones on here. A 1/48 scale.
Oh, by the way, guys, just so you know, we do in fact get snow in Florida. It just comes in a can.
A Revell 1/28 scale Forker triplane.
Yeah, there was a 1/18 scale I built as a kid. I was real proud of because I had paint. 148 Wasp. Oh yeah, okay.
A U2.
I had a
wow.
Part of the completely switching gears here. One of the things is that the models is when I like to write my little, screenplays or whatever.
Yeah.
I've used models. I've used those as an excuse to buy certain models, so that I could
excuse.
So that I could
you
make
need an excuse.
Yeah. It legitimizes things. But what I do is I like to use the models because I can use them to make what do you call it? Like a comic book with the
Animes?
No. For when you write a screenplay, the storyboard.
Oh, storyboards, yes.
And models come in real good for making storyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And since I want to work on the one I want to work on the mini series, and of course, I never expect this to ever see the light of day. I'm not like I'm going to write this and someone's going to make it. This is purely for my edification. Maybe make a YouTube thing. I want to do the Godzilla Chronicles. which is a reimagining of Godzilla going all the way back to prehistoric time to show how Sarazawa lost his eye and all that stuff. But it'll be my own twist on it.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, that's an excuse to build more certain this and build that and build this, and I'm going to need one of those. And let's see, a Mitsubishi Zero. I picked my teeth with them. You know, the unknown battle of the Imperial Japanese Navy versus Godzilla in 1944. That no one could write the story because no one survived.
So you want to do the backstory, huh?
No. I want to create my own. In other words.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How did he get here? Well,
I've already got that part worked. At first, it was going to be an airplane. But now I've decided, because it's a Godzilla movie, it has to be a submarine.
Oh.
I have started using the joke when something's not going to work. It's got about as much chance as a submarine in a Godzilla movie.
So what else? We got some other
well,
ones.
Gosh, I gotta start reading some of these comments. I'm so far behind now. What about you and Charlie show?
Zukuri Mura 137.
Oh my God, Zuiki Mura, Jesus, they are. The Zuiki Muras are. They make to me look like Aurora.
Oh really?
The level of detail in those things is redonkulous. They have internal components like wing spars and formers on a plastic model.
Holy cow!
And
things you'll never see.
Yeah. Well, I think most people build that kind of stuff find a way to expose it, because it would just you could probably build a model as a shell and then put the inners on on the side as a side display.
Or maybe just
kind of like the Visible Man or something,
apart.
But it's you could probably clear vac like the wing skins and put them over this so you could have a see-through or something.
That's something like that.
Cover it with tissue or mylar. You pay for it, but model building has gotten so detail oriented. I mean, it's an evolutionary thing. I don't mean to. I'm not complaining, but
there's a market for all kinds of things.
When we were kids, if you held it in your hand at this distance and it looked like a Spitfire, you were happy because that was the standard of the day.
Right.
And then to me and Hasegawa came along and ruined everything. But they, everybody kept upping their game, and the companies that didn't, they disappeared.
Well, it's also kind of the same thing in the model railroading business as well. Back during, just after World War II, Lionel was really big, and you get a model of an engine, and if it even kind of looked closer, like a steam engine that had, the moving gear or something, oh, hey, this is really cool. The level of detail now,
my favorite modeling smell
in model railroading has gotten to the point where they're counting rivets, and
that's literally counting rivets. He's not being figurative.
And in some of the engines, especially in some of the high end engines that Aston puts out, they actually make it type specific. In other words, certain railroads would order that engine, but they would have certain modifications made to it. They actually make the model with those modifications for that particular road, and people buy them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would.
I've got several of them.
Oop, it's Bill. Hey, what's up?
So what else you got on here?
Hey, yep.
An Airfix 172nd Cherokee, only because it looks so small and shiny next to all the military jets.
The call bounce. I have to climb back. We're going to have to wrap up here. It's going on 9 o'clock. And
oh, wow.
We have...
Time just zipped by.
It does, man. Godzilla soap opera. Yeah, the Godzilla for the Chronicles would start at the prehistoric era. It would go to a few encounters and involves Anguillus, this from Godzilla Revenge or Return or whatever it was, the second one. And that goes back to the prehistoric era. Their grudge match goes back 40 million years. Anyway, it would involve things that happened, where like a lot of the Monster Sea stories come from and all that kind of stuff. And then move into World War II, where we've already figured out how they come across it and how they... And turns out what happened in Tokyo in 1953 didn't happen in a bubble. Anyway.
He's trying again.
I'm good. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. I want to thank you for joining us. I'll loop out the intro a couple times so you guys can chat amongst yourselves for a while. Take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.
Model on, guys. It's been fun.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. Times, and then I'll edit it.
Okay. Am I in the right spot? I'm on
yes.
my mark.
You're on your mark.
I'm on my mark. Okay. Are we ready? Or we're filming now?
Yeah, I've got it running. We're just going to let it run.
Okay.
At your leisure.
Okay. At my leisure. Welcome to Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models. You left off the the.
I screwed
Speak
up.
up a little bit, just a little bit more. Speak
Really?
up just a little bit more.
Oh, I thought I was doing pretty good there already.
Well, actually, the microphone says you are, but yeah, okay, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. That'll probably work. We'll do a couple of insurance shots and then we'll wrap. Okay.
Okay.
2 more times.
All right. 2 more times. Okay. Give you some lead in there.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. And we'll do 1 more.
Okay.
Give it a 3 count in your head and go.
Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is Tarbis.
The Tarbis. You gotta put the these in there.
Oh, okay.
This is not Tarbis. This is the Tarbis.
Okay. Are we ready? Yes.
Okay, when you're ready.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is the Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. It's almost not worth thinking about.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. times, and then I'll edit it.
Okay. Am I in the right spot? I'm on
yes.
my mark.
You're on your mark.
I'm on my mark. Okay. Are we ready? Or we're filming now?
Yeah, I've got it running. We're just going to let it run.
Okay.
At your leisure.
Okay. At my leisure. Welcome to Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models. You left off the the.
I screwed
Speak
up.
up a little bit, just a little bit more. Speak
Really?
up just a little bit more.
Oh, I thought I was doing pretty good there already.
Well, actually, the microphone says you are, but yeah, okay, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. That'll probably work. We'll do a couple of insurance shots and then we'll wrap. Okay.
Okay.
2 more times.
All right. 2 more times. Okay. Give you some lead in there.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. And we'll do 1 more.
Okay.
Give it a 3 count in your head and go.
Okay. Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is Tarbis.
The Tarbis. You gotta put the V's in there.
Okay.
This is not Tarbis. This is the Tarbis.
Okay. Are we ready? Yes.
Okay, when you're ready.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is the Tarbis Kenny.
Can confirm. It's almost not worth thinking about.
Welcome to the Max's Models live stream. This is the Tarbis. I am Kenny. This is Tarbis